Sebastian Fundora, Errol Spence, done deal, locked in. It's happening next. Bud Crawford, Fundora were originally granted a 10-day extension to go get them into negotiations to get the fight made, which would have been unifying the WBC, WBO championship as well as Bud Crawford's WBA super welterweight title, and also the WBO interim belt. What that means, we could have had undisputed fight in the picture. Not what we're going to get though, because ahead of the deadline, they decided to go to an agreement where Bud Crawford would part for a little bit. Fundora proceeds with a voluntary defense against Errol Spence, and that's the fight we're going to get. It's going to be a junior middleweight title unification will be explored afterward, according to Mike Coppinger at that point in time. So early 2025, Fundora, Errol Spence. Errol Spence's last fight, we know what happened against Bud Crawford. Yeah, not a pretty sight. However, what intrigues me about this is that we now have a chance that possibly, if Errol Spence somehow beats Fundora, that we're going to see Bud Crawford, Spence too. One of the biggest years of this past decade will possibly have a rematch. Personally, I don't really want to see it. I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. That fight was lopsided. Bud Crawford beat Spence in badly there. I don't think Spence is going to be recovered from that fight or the previous things that occurred between the accident and other things as well. It's going to be interesting to see what unfolds in that fight. I'm not a big fan of this one that got made, though. Not a big fan of it at all. And here's why for me. I want unifications. I want undisputed. And Bud Crawford and Fundora had a shot at that. And I don't know if it was a mutual decision. I don't know what it was. That's what should have been pursued. The fact that we're going to go for this Fundora Errol Spence one just doesn't make sense to me. I get it's fun to see Errol Spence back in the ring. I get it's going to be fun to see it. But I'm about history and legacy. And this Errol Spence, especially if he comes out and has a bad performance, is not going to be the biggest statement to make for Fundora on his legacy. So we'll see what happens. I hope we get to the unification fight. But ultimately, the belts will still be on the line because Errol Spence wins, then the mandatory will have to be fighting Bud Crawford. So we're going to get that early 2025. Should be a massive fight night then. Other mega fight news. The two Davids are going to be going at it. David Benavidez, David Morrell, set and is expected to take place January 25th in Las Vegas. Not a finalized date, though. This is what I'm talking about. Can I give a moment to just give a round of applause to David Benavidez, though? I mean, let's keep it real right now. Benavidez got himself in position to fight the mega fight, Canelo Alvarez, David Benavidez, about 2 years ago now. Year and a half, however you want to say it. And since that time span, when Canelo basically stood him up, he's got on and said, you know what? I'm going to go fight Caleb Plant. I'm going to go fight Andrade. I'm going to go fight Alexander. I'm going to go fight now David Morrell. This man does not step down no matter who the competition is, no matter who people want him to fight. Because remember, just last episode I talked about this. They were in discussion to go fight another guy. And everybody said, no, man. We want David Morrell. David Benavidez made the moves happen. He said, hey, let's make the fight happen now. We got two young guys up and coming, fighting each other at this point in their career. That doesn't happen in boxing a lot, folks. But what we're getting now is David Benavidez, David Morrell. They're going to be fighting January 2025, most possibly January 25th, but we'll see if the day gets finalized. Absolutely mega fight right there. It's going to be a massive show, and major props to David Benavidez for stepping up and making big fights happen. He's going to be a legitimate guy. We all know how good these two guys are. Should be a massive fight, potential fight of the year for next year. Then we have got announced the Oleksandr Usyk Tyson Fury rematch. Its full undercard in Saudi Arabia for December 21st has now been announced. Co-main event, mega fight. Sergey Bohachuk is going to be fighting Israel Madrimov. That's a fight we're all going to want to see. You're going to have two guys, former champions. Big fight there. Madrimov gets his first fight back from his bud. Love that fight right there. Then we're going to go head over to below them. Moses Itoma versus Dempsey McKean. I like that fight a lot as well. I'm a big fan of Moses Itoma. I think he's the best under 25 heavyweight in the world. We get to see him on a massive stage finally. Johnny Fisher, another up-and-coming young fighter at the heavyweight division, fighting Dave Allen. Dennis McCann versus Peter McGrail. Isaac Lowe versus Lee McGregor. Big-time fight right there. Another blockbuster event by Saudi Arabia. Let's head over now to the next part. The IBF has now officially ordered Martin Bakole versus Agit Kabayel as a final eliminator to determine the next mandatory challenger for Daniel Dubois' IBF heavyweight world title. So, Dubois now got himself locked in. It sounds like the rumors are going to heat up now. We are going to get the Dubois-AJ rematch coming up now. So, what's going to happen in the meantime? Well, we got to find out who is going to be mandatory fight to be after that fight occurs. And what it looks like now is Bakole, Agit will be fighting. And I like that. Solid fight right there. Now, those of you that have heard my show know that I'm very high on having Martin Bakole versus Zhang Li Zhang. And not seeing that is unfortunate. That being said, Agit, he deserves a big fight. would be all forcing Bakole in a Jet Kabayel fight. That could be an interesting fight to see happen there. The WBO has also now officially ordered Janibek to go and defend his IBF and WBO world middleweight to world titles against Hamzah Sheeraz. They have 15 days to agree to a deal now. So, my thoughts on that transaction right there. I already discussed it a little bit ago when I discussed Janibek. That's a massive fight to make. 3 options for Janibek. Hamzah's one of them. Love that fight. We also have a very good fight, a 50-50 fight in my opinion. Liam Paro. He'll be defending his IBF super lightweight world title versus Richardson Hitchins on December 7th in Puerto Rico. Another one that's going to be a massive fight. A little bit confusing that it's going to be in Puerto Rico. And then we've heard rumors that Cyril Matias and Eddie Hearn are parting ways, but also still together in some way. But the contract, it's kind of confusing the way the contract is. I haven't fully grasped exactly what's going on there, but this will be a matchroom card, and it's in Matias's homeland, and he's not going to be fighting. So that's interesting. But regardless of the point, the guy that defeated Matias, Liam Paro, defends it for the first time. We'll be fighting Richardson Hitchins. A massive fight there, truly 50-50. Two guys going to be a good fight to see out there in Puerto Rico. Naoya Inoue. Sam Goodman is now finalized for Inoue's undisputed belts. All of them 4 will be on the line. 2 bantamweight world titles on Christmas Eve. This will be happening on December 24th in Tokyo, Japan. And let's just be honest here. This was a fight that we've all expected. We all know was going to happen. Pretty much one of the last guys to fight at this weight class. You have MJ, Elijah Pierce could be fighting each other then to possibly become the next guy he fights. Whatever the case may be there, I think he's ultimately waiting for the mega fight against Junto Nakatani. However, though, that's what we got in store now. That will be commencing on December 24th. Be his next fight of this year. Then we go to another fight that's been announced. Rayo versus Pitbull Cruz rematch for Rayo's WBA super lightweight world title. The one he took from Pitbull Cruz is going to be likely taking place on the Double David fight I just talked about, Benavidez, Morrell, undercard. That will be on December, like I said, either February or January of 2025. That's an interesting one. I've addressed this before. That was one of the biggest upsets of the year. Pitbull Cruz was supposed to win that fight. Everybody thought he was going to win that fight. Rayo had an absolute masterclass that night. So if we get this rematch, I'm intrigued to see what changes does Pitbull make, because he got outclassed from top to bottom there. And I like Pitbull a lot. I was shocked that night to see that fight, what happened there. And so I'm excited for that possible rematch now. Then we have news, Jermall Charlo. He has indicated his next fight will take place on the Tank Davis Lamont Roach undercard December 14th. Now, the rumor that came out today that what we're likely looking at right now is a possible Charlo versus Thomas LaManana fight. Not the biggest fight in the world, but just getting back in the groove, fighting again, not the worst situation in the world to have happen there. Stephen Fulton, cool boy, he'll be having his fight against Figueroa. They will meet for the featherweight rematch on the Tank Davis Lamont Roach card as well. And if you remember now, 2021, November, this is when Fulton won by majority decision and is regarded as one of the best fights from that year. Can't forget about that. So that's going to be a great rematch to see unfold there as well. And then we also got news that as the fight is quickly approaching between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, yeah, y'all know my thoughts on that one. Should not be happening anyways. We at least are going to have something good on the undercard as well now. Let's add on to it. Bruce Carrington will be fighting Australia's Dana Coolwell in an 8-rounder on November 15th on the pay-per-view for the Tyson-Jake Paul fight. Now, for those that forget, Bruce Carrington is a good fighter. I like Bruce Carrington a lot. However, as I alluded to, his last performance against Segawa just last month was not good. Not pretty at all. And I think this is the type of fight he needed. He needs to go back, get back in the gym, work out, and get himself ready to go make a statement again so he can get his name hyped up again, because that was not a good performance last time. So for SchuZ Show coming back, he's going to be fighting on that undercard quickly. I like that quick turnaround. Way to get back out to work. Did exactly as I wanted to do when I talked about that fight last week. Last thing that just came out right before the show started, Rafael Espinoza versus Robeisy Ramirez. That rematch for Espinoza's WBO featherweight world title is now agreed to take place, and that will occur on the undercard for the Manuel Navarrete versus Oscar Valdez rematch, which will be taking place in Phoenix, Arizona on December the 7th. So that's going to be another good fight card we're going to have put together in Phoenix now again to wrap up this year. And that's what I've got for you guys. Lots of fights have been in the works in the past 10 days or so. Lots of big fights, mega fights. And all I can say is that boxing's moving right now. Between what Saudi Arabia's got going on, PBC's been putting on some great shows. We got all kind of things moving right now. And it's a great time to be a boxing fan because boxing fights are happening. Big-time fighters are making big-time fights. And it's going to be a great end of 2024. And we're already setting up 2025 to be another blockbuster year so far.